welcome to Blogtown. My name is Fatima and I am your host. Today I'm going to be talking to Andrea. I'm going to talk to her about her blog and her passion for cycling. So if you're into biking and cycling, you might want to stay tuned. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for meeting me in this beautiful park. So I have to say, the very first time that I went to your blog, I was hooked. What I really loved was the style of writing. It was really, really funny. And I love the fact that you're not shy at all to express your opinion. So I thought to myself, wow, you know what, Andrea, tell it like it is. So where did you get this?
Well, I guess I've always been described as outspoken, so that's carried over naturally, I think, to the blog. The fact that it's a public forum, I think, makes that a little challenging sometimes, and I've certainly had some issues with that from time to time, but nothing major. I think that for the most part, the people that come to my blog expect that, like that. So even though when I started writing it, I was writing it really as a private journal, even though I knew it was out there, I didn't think anybody was actually reading it. So I didn't hold back. I said whatever I wanted. If I was mad, I talked about that. I swore if I felt like it. As you say, I just told it as I saw it.
How did you start blogging?
Right after I sort of started cycling quite seriously, and I had a significant birthday, and my husband wanted to do something special for me, and what I really wanted to do was go with a group of my cycling friends to Arizona for a week. It was a trip they always did, and I was always so jealous that they got to do this trip, and I thought just it seemed like such an indulgence to go, and it was. Our kids were small. It was going to be a lot of work for my husband to deal with all of the stuff that goes along with parenting as a single parent, but I said that that's what I wanted to do, and I did. But one of the things that made me feel better, because I'd never really been away from my family for a long period of time, was to write this blog, to start this little blog that just, day by day as I was in Arizona riding around, I would take pictures and then I would share my stories with them, the G-rated versions, and and talk about just where I went every day. And so that it sort of started that way, and then I'd enjoyed it so much that I just kept doing it, and it took a while before I realized other people were reading it, because I would have people come up to me at races and ask me or make comments about something that I had written, and I'd be horrified, like, oh no, like
somebody's reading my blog.
Oh dear, somebody's reading it.
What did I just write?
This was not the intention. Yeah. But I've always tried to, and I mean, now the blog, the readership is much bigger, and it's grown beyond what I really expected it to. So, but I still try to not be careful when I'm writing. I try not to write, although I'm writing for other people, I try not to let that stifle my voice or change it in some way, because I realize that the people who do come there come to hear my voice, and they don't come to hear somebody else's voice. So I try and keep it honest and real, and I think in the blog world, that's okay. Yeah. It has to be relevant. I mean, and not just to a local audience, to a sort of a broader audience. So I try and really kind of vary the topics, from commuting things like everyday cycling to, I love talking about cycling history and pro racing, traveling and infrastructure, design. I'm a designer by trade, and I talk a lot about just sort of the design issues about cycling.
So anybody can pretty much come to your blog and find something that they're
something of interest.
Yeah. Definitely. If somebody would ask you, what is your blog about? What would you tell them?
It's about life on two wheels. It's about anything to do with a bicycle. So, which you would think would be a very narrow topic, but it's not. It's so broad, just in terms of the different cycling disciplines. Like when you think about mountain biking and road racing, like the Tour de France, and downhill racing, commuting. I've done stories about tweed rides where people dress up in turn of the century clothing, and so there's all these different types of riding, and then there's all of these different aspects around all of those different types of cycling. And then there's all of the other sort of spin-off topics, like design, like bike building and parts, the actual mechanics of a bike, which I really didn't know anything about. And so I decided to restore an old bike. Like, I just bought an old, I didn't even buy it, I fell into this old frame. It's actually this bike back here. It's an old Italian racing bike.
That looks amazing, actually.
That came from the Mennonite Goodwill store in Altona, of all places, and I decided that I was going to restore it back to sort of a rideable, usable bike. Yeah. And so, wow, what a great way to learn about how a bicycle works.
And you managed to figure that out.
I did, and I blogged about it every step of the way. It was about a year-long process, but just finding parts and just dealing with all of the different measurements and intricacies of bikes. So I mean, there was that issue, which was certainly of interest to a very specific, sort of readership. But then I also talk a lot about women's issues.
When I was on your blog, I noticed that you won a contest to go to Italy,
yes,
and that was last year.
It was.
How did that go for you? What was the experience like?
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was such a surprise. I don't enter contests really ever, and this one was just so great. It was just one of those over the top. Like, if you're a cyclist, to ride in Italy is kind of like the ultimate dream. And then to go and stay in high-end hotels and be eating great Italian food with a bunch of like-minded people, and
that sounds like a dream.
It was fantastic, and it wasn't easy. Like, when I first saw the contest, I was like, oh, Italy cycling, sure, sign me up. But then when it actually came to the time, that I won, and I learned a little bit more about the tour, it was a very, very intense tour. We were riding close to 200 kilometers a day, every day for about 8 days solid in the mountains.
That's hard. That is hard. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it was very hard, and I didn't have a lot of time to train for that. Luckily it was in October, so I'd had the summer where I was riding a lot, and I just thought, well, if I can't do it, well, I'll die trying.
Yeah.
So it was an incredible experience. People from all over the world had come for this tour, and it was also centered around this company called Campagnolo, which is an Italian bike component manufacturer with a very, very long history with cycling, and they're just kind of legendary cycling family and company, sort of the highest quality and stuff, and so it was this Campagnolo tour. So it started with a Gran Fondo, which is a 100-mile race in Rome, and it snaked all through Rome. I mean, they shut down streets. I mean, it's unheard of. And so it started with that, and it was 6,000 cyclists all riding 100 miles together.
Sounds amazing.
And mostly Italians and stuff. But so I'm riding through the streets of Rome, surrounded by all these fierce Italian cyclists, very serious, and everybody's yelling in Italian, and we're on cobbles, and it was just incredible. And then we rode through the Italian countryside for a week, which was just, every day was just incredible. We would ride our guts out all day, and then at the end of the day we would stop in these beautiful villas and have incredible 5-6 course meals with wine and all the things I love.
Nice way to end the day.
Oh yeah, and then you would just sleep like the dead.
So that sounds like absolutely an amazing experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And to be able to share that on the blog was really special.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that shouldn't be kept to yourself. And it was
true.
A great way to share.
And when I was reading the post that you made about that experience, I felt like I was there, and I got really excited. It sounds like you're really passionate about what you do. Mm-hmm. So if there's somebody else who's watching and they've been thinking about blogging and they don't really know where they should go, where they should start, what kind of advice would you give, that person?
I started at a very basic level, and being a designer, of course, I was very conscious of how it looked, but I knew that I didn't want that to be the focus of it. I didn't want to be distracted by having to design this thing. So I went to Blogger, which is a Google application. It's free. As long as you have a Google account, you can have a blog. So I started out as Winnipeg Cycle Chick. .blogspot.com. eventually I moved out of Blogger and now I use WordPress. But for a long time, I was able to do this blog very simply. It's a very easy back end. You don't have to know computer programming or anything like that. It's very intuitive. I mean, if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Well, that sounds like, that's great advice. So you've heard that blogging is easy and it's free. So anybody who wants to blog, they can pretty much do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Andrea, for coming to the program. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so
My
much,
pleasure.
and good luck with blogging.
Thank you so much.